let's get over to the NFL GOAT discussion. So, this has been a fun show so far, but we're just gonna go through this. This was actually pretty fun to make versus our defensive, like the offensive that we could have guessed, right?
Yeah, sure.
It was a cool discussion, but this one I think is gonna get down to a little bit of the nitty gritty. But we'll see what's going on. So our nominees, though. So our nominees for the NFL GOAT were Reggie White, Bruce Smith, for Dion. Everybody had that across the board.
Yeah, nobody nominated anybody else.
Defensive tackle is a little
really?
Yeah.
No, nobody else voted for it. Joe Green, Aaron Donald, Alan Page, Bob Lilly, and John Randall. So that was a pretty colorful list. Outside linebacker, everybody had Lawrence Taylor.
Yep.
Jack Ham and Derek Thomas came down to it came down to one vote. Cornerbacks, this was I don't know why I have Brian Dawkins in there, but
how did Brian Dawkins end up on the cornerback?
No. It was Deion Sanders, Rod Woodson. Crap, I forget the other one.
Those are the two I voted for, so I don't know who the third one would have been.
It was me. It was me. I had Charles Woodson.
Oh, okay.
It was me.
Okay.
In your defense, he was my third, so.
Yeah.
Middle linebacker, Ray Lewis. Everybody had him. Dick Butkus, Junior Sal, and Jack Lambert. And then safety, Ed Reed, Ronnie Lott, and Brian Dawkins. So after all the votes came down, the six that we ended up with, the finalists, we picked two from each one, and then I seeded them according to how many votes that we had, just like we did with offensive players. So it was Reggie White, Bruce Smith, Lawrence Taylor, Jack Ham, Deion Sanders, Rod Woodson, Ed Reed, Ronnie Lott, Ray Lewis, Dick Butkus, Mean Joe Green, and Aaron Donald made it in there, even though he's not even in the Hall of Fame discussion. But
I mean, if he retired tomorrow, he would be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of those things like you look at Luke Kuechly and stuff like that and can determine if he could be a Hall of Famer or not based off his potential. But
who the hell didn't vote for Rod Woodson?
Who didn't vote for Rod Woodson?
Yeah, how's he the 11th seed?
It was me.
Yeah, he put Charles Woodson ahead of Rod Woodson. Yeah.
It was me. All right. So let's go ahead and get into
set the bracket up.
The bracket. Let me go ahead and set it up here.
We'll do it live.
Yeah. Which one was it? Oh dang! I got all myself screwed up. Oh, here it is. It's this one right here.
There it is.
Bam.
That big one.
All right. So the bracket, it is here. First, we got Jack Ham versus Ed Reed. This is a fun one. So what do we have here, gentlemen? My vote is going to be for Ed Reed. I think he was just generationally one of the best safeties ever. He could do it all. He wasn't bad at one thing.
I mean, Jack Ham has 4 rings. I mean, that was like and a 7-time All-Pro.
So that's your vote?
No. It's not. Ed Reed's accomplishment. No. I mean, I'm trying to make the argument for Jack Ham. I mean, he was an incredible player and an anchor of that Steeler defense. I mean, they won 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
With Terry Bradshaw quarterback.
But I guess I'm a little biased because I grew up in Baltimore
Terry
too.
Bradshaw's the most overrated NFL player ever.
I beg to differ. Dan Fouts.
No, Terry Bradshaw was way worse than Dan Fouts.
I'll tell you why it's not Dan Fouts, because nobody I've ever met said Dan Fouts was the best quarterback ever. I know a ton of people think Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah, that's very true.
Just ask all of Steelers Nation.
The only reason Terry Bradshaw is there is because of Super Bowls.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I could have played quarterback for that team.
But yeah, I got to go with Ed Reed.
Okay.
I mean, he 7 return touchdowns on his career, including the longest in history, that 107-yard backbreaker against the Eagles back in 2008.
Surprise.
Yeah. All right. Don?
Okay, Don.
This was tough to start it off with. I mean, I admire Ed Reed a ton, but what I really liked was Jack Ham's 32 interceptions, 21 fumble recoveries, including 3 for a touchdown.
Get him, Don. Get him.
The four rings, the 7-time All-Pro, and the 8-time Pro Bowl. So I'm going Jack Ham.
Gotcha.
All right. So, Bill, you got the same thing, I'm guessing.
The answer is Jack Ham. Ed Reed shouldn't be on this list. Brian Dawkins is better than Ed Reed as an overall safety. Ed Reed was great at interceptions. Brian Dawkins dwarfs him in every other category for a safety. Jack Ham. Jack Ham's the answer.
All right, so then my wife was the deciding factor on this one. She went Jack Ham.
You know she did.
Yeah, Steelers fan, of course.
Yep. Thank you, Heather.
Yes.
All right, Dion Sanders versus Aaron Donald.
That's a tough one. I mean,
it's an uphill battle for
yeah,
Aaron Donald.
yeah. So Aaron Donald, I just don't think has a full career of work yet.
Yep.
Three more years, even like this could be a different answer, but it's Dion. I
think all of us are pretty much going to go Deion Sanders on this.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick one.
So I'm gonna just go ahead and put it forward.
Yeah.
But based off of the respect, I think you
Yeah.
have to put him here.
I mean, Aaron Donald's still probably the best defensive player in the league. But again, he's in the middle of his career. He's not done.
I mean, the fact that he's on this list as a GOAT in the middle of his career, still in his prime, like that says a lot. Yeah, he's that good.
My argument against Aaron Donald, though, even though I know he has a strength to bust through the line and he gets double and triple team, what would he be without the rest of those teams? Like if he was in Detroit, how good would he be?
Better than Sue when he was in Detroit.
But I'm just saying, Jalen Ramsey is shutting down people, and then you had Michael Brockers, and
Yeah, but Jalen Ramsey kind of like lends credence to Aaron Donald. I mean, Jalen Ramsey was doing the same thing at Jacksonville on a terrible team.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. I'm a Jacksonville fan. That's true.
Yeah.
All right, so just go ahead and submit this. So Deion Sanders wins. Aaron Donald is like an honorable mention because we think he's gonna get to the Hall of Fame. I mean, if it stopped today, the dude just off his dominance. Rod Woodson and Bruce Smith. This is another fun one.
This is brutal.
Yeah,
this is like it's a brutal matchup.
It makes it hard.
Yeah,
and one of these two is not going forward.
Yeah. Just based off of that late '80s to early '90s Buffalo Bills team, I mean, it's hard to say to not put Bruce Smith up there. I mean, he still has the sack record, and
I mean, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but I feel like Bruce Smith got a lot of his stuff because he played for so long. I mean, he played 19 seasons.
That's a good point.
I mean,
but Rod Woodson played a long time too.
Rod Woodson played 17. That's what. Exactly. Rod Woodson did make an All-Pro as a corner, a safety, and a kick returner. He had 17 return touchdowns.
Yeah.
Played in 3 Super Bowls and only won 1, but Bruce Smith obviously was 0 for 4 pretty famously.
And it's pretty brutal to win or to lose 4 Super Bowls
in a row.
I can't fathom that.
I mean, how brutal is that?
You got to figure every year they're like, all right, we're going to win this year, right? Like we can't lose 3 in a row, right?
Yep.
And then they lose and they go back like we can't lose 4 in a row, can we?
I mean,
that's worse than being undefeated like the Patriots were and losing in the Super Bowl. I mean, you lost
way
4
worse.
way in a row.
Yeah. All right, so who's voting for what? Was that your vote for Bruce?
that was my vote for Bruce. Just based off of I understand Rod Woodson did all of that and he made Pro Bowls and all those different positions, but Bruce Smith was dominant, man. I had to go back and look at the tape.
Don, what do you think?
I mean, it was razor thin though, because I respect what Rod Woodson did for a very long time.
I'll tell you, this is all your fault that this is even a matchup because you didn't vote for Rod Woodson.
Correct. He should not be this low of a C.
Yeah, this shouldn't even be a matchup.
So, all right, the rest of you guys got Rod Woodson?
Hang on. Go ahead, Don.
Rod Woodson?
I'm going to keep it quick. I'm going to give a couple positive points on each. With Bruce Smith, I mean, it makes it tough. 10-plus sacks for 13 of his 19 seasons.
It's insanity.
That is crazy. But with Rod Woodson, 71 interceptions, 12 for touchdowns, plus the return yards, return touchdowns. I gave the nod to Woodson, but it was close.
Okay.
Me and Don are like best friends.
All right, Bill, you obviously got Rod Woodson too.
I'm literally still debating, like, only because like obviously growing up as like an Elway guy, like, like we had battles against Buffalo.
Yep.
And I've watched Bruce Smith so much as a kid and how good he was, and I just also remember like Rod Woodson being on Pittsburgh and how much I hated him because he was so good. I'm still mad at Dante.
But that made it interesting, right? I didn't do it on purpose. I just thought Charles Woodson, and that's basically because
you know what?
I watched him.
You know what? I'm going with my gut here. I'm going with Woodson.
Okay.
Okay.
I got to give it to Bruce Smith.
Okay.
He was Defensive Player of the Year twice, and he was on the all-decade team for both the 80s and the 90s. He's like one of the very few people to span a couple of decades of that much dominance. I mean, he's first all-time in sacks by 1 or 2, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to give it to him. 279 games played.
I was going to say
So-
279 games is a
It's
lot.
insane.
Man.
Here we go. Ex-Steeler.
Heather's going to give it to the
Came down
Steeler.
to the vote.
I'll give it to
Rod
Rod. That's
Woodson
fine.
makes
That's-
it through his 11 seed.
All right.
Hey, I
Thank you, Heather.
don't disagree though.
No,
This
I
was-
can't-
This
I
was
can't
probably
disagree.
the toughest one on this list.
This bracket is brutal.
Yeah, Ronnie Lott and Dick Butkus.
This wasn't much better.
Couple of mean, hard-hitting guys.
I think the
Old
last
school
one
guys,
was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I think the last one was worse, but you're
Yeah.
talking about transcending the position itself. And I think that came down to my decision. I mean, Ronnie Lott, honestly, Ronnie Lott did the same thing at the safety position.
He sure
Yeah.
did.
He did.
But
Who are you talking about here?
That's literally the same thing. I thought you were talking about Ronnie Lott.
Yeah.
But Dick Butkus did too. I mean,
Yep, he did.
you can't even talk about linebacker without mentioning Dick Butkus if
the
you
birth
know
of the
anything
position.
about the position.
I mean, the monsters of the Midway don't exist without him. However,
Yeah, I say I don't know if you bring up
Yeah.
all time like safeties without
So-
mentioning Ronnie Lott right away.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to go early. I'm picking Ronnie Lott. Dick Butkus only played 9 seasons.
Yep.
He got cut short by a knee
Boom.
injury, and he never played in a conference or league championship game. I
For
mean,
me, yeah,
for
I mean,
those
it's tough.
reasons,
It's tough.
I mean, I talked about Dick Butkus, but I'm going Ronnie Lott. I mean,
listen, any guy who literally chops off the finger of his tip or the tip of his finger
Yeah.
in the game, so he can go back in the game and then finish the game. I'm voting Ronnie Lott.
It's like-
People also don't realize. Don probably has this, but he had way more interceptions than people give him credit for.
63.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like people
63,
always.
Yep, 5 for
people-
touchdowns.
Yeah, people always think of him as just a hard-hitting, like run-stopping safety. He was excellent in coverage, pretty much all the way throughout his entire career. It's that's why most people rank him as the best safety ever. Sorry,
yeah,
I'm picking Ronnie Lott.
cool.
And-
Don,
and-
who you got?
and add to that, not only 63 interceptions, 5 for touchdowns, 17 fumble recoveries,
Right.
9 postseason interceptions. That
So-
seals it right there. Ronnie Lott.
I'm gonna go out here and say, I'm gonna just go out on a limb. If I had to ask these two players personally, would the safety position be the way it was, especially in the early 2000s and all in the 90s? John Lynch and Ed Reed are gonna say Ronnie Lott. I tried to model my game after hitting the crap out of people the way that Ronnie Lott did.
I'll give you another one to add in that because he played against them, but he was younger in his career when Ronnie was getting out, but they did play against each other in the one Super Bowl. Steve Atwater was the same way.
I was
Sure.
just about to say that.
Yeah.
Yep. Steve Atwater. Good point. All right, so let's move on to the second round here.
Yeah.
Man, I love this defensive rating.
Yeah,
It
tough.
literally came down to like choosing the red pill or the blue pill. You know what I'm saying? But just based off of what I put in my Mount Rushmore of players, I'm just gonna stay with that. I know we can base this off of anything, right? Stats. I just think Reggie White, everybody says he's an incredible human being. The defensive end position, if he would have played a little bit longer, I mean, he's amazing. From I mean, even the friendship that he had with Chris Carter and all that, trying to get him to turn his life around. You gotta give him some credit in doing that as well. But as a player, he was dominant, man.
Yeah.
I mean, literally Aaron Donald at defensive end. I mean,
Yeah.
to be completely honest. So my vote's gonna be for Reggie White. I appreciate what Jack Ham did, but Reggie White is my vote.
This is really easy for me. He was an Eagle. He'll always be an Eagle.
Yeah.
He was obviously good at Green Bay, and he's still good in Carolina. But some of the things you touch on, which were good too. He was probably a better person off the field than he was as a player on the field.
Yeah.
And it's crazy when it kind of came full circle because you look at like how Brian Dawkins connects with our fan base. Same type of person. You know, very very faith-based, great teammate, great locker room guy, and awesome on the field, but a better person. And Reggie White was just incredible. He's an incredible football player. You know, again, the fact that you had him and Bruce Smith playing at the same time is insanity.
I wish I was a little bit older to realize
what you were watching.
I mean, I have to go back and watch tapes, but watching in real time, I wish I could have understood.
Yeah. I was 12 or 13 watching, or even a little younger than that, but I was still 12 or 13 when these guys were in their prime and like really like starting to like, again, and like having it from like my family and my father and everybody, like they're like, watch this guy, like you don't, you're watching something like that you're not going to see again probably. And he was right. I mean, Reggie White is an all-time player, so it's Reggie White for me.
Okay. Don?
Okay, well, as was said, I do appreciate the stats and everything that Jack Ham did, but 198 sacks in 232 games and 13 consecutive Pro Bowls, 3 interceptions, 2 fumble recovery touchdowns. Yeah, Reggie White. Even if I wasn't an Eagles fan, it'd be Reggie White.
I mean, it doesn't even matter. This guy was just. I mean, like I said, my Mount Rushmore. The only reason he made it over Deion Sanders as a defensive Mount Rushmore guy is I have to consider the outside guy too. He's who you want to model yourself after on the field and off the field.
Sure,
Rob, who you got?
For sure. I think it's an easy pick for Reggie White for me. I mean. You mentioned he got those. He has 2 fewer sacks than Bruce Smith in 47 fewer games.
Yep, good point.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of nuts. I mean, he only missed 8 games in 15 seasons.
Well, you heard Don say it too when your sacks compared to games played. Up until I want to say it was probably like till like a season or 2 to go. He was averaging a sack a game for his career.
Yeah, exactly.
And it started to drop at the end because he started playing more games in sacks.
Actually,
but
I have it.
When you're 12 seasons into your career and you're averaging a sack a game, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
He played 121 games for the Eagles. He had 124 sacks.
There you go.
Insane.
And he went to Green Bay and is their all-time sack leader too.
Yeah. They try to claim him all the time, but they can kick rock.
Yeah. He only had 68 sacks in Green Bay.
Yep. Yeah. He's an Eagle.
Yeah, for life.
So this is a fun one. This is a fun one. I think this is probably the funnest one out of all.
A couple of the biggest personalities.
Oh yeah. And Deion Sanders wasn't really like. He gets his misconception that he used to talk trash and all that, but he was just a competitor.
He was flashy, though.
Yeah, he was flashy.
I mean, the high step.
You look good, you play good.
Exactly.
Florida State guy for me.
Oh, yeah, I know. You and your FSU guy.
So here comes the home rhythm. You sound like a trail now.
Actually, as Don knows, I'm not biased to my teams. I grew up in Baltimore watching this guy. My tattoo on my arm is a Ray Lewis quote. Presence and essence always determines respect. So I'm gonna have to go with Ray Lewis on this one. Just based off his body
of
work.
Tattooed on your arm.
Yeah. Just based off of his. I mean, that's a true quote though.
Sure.
That stuck with me for a long time. But based off of what Ray Lewis did on the field, there is. I mean, even before Ed Reed got there, that defense started with Ray Lewis. Terrell Suggs would not be Terrell Suggs. I don't even think Ed Reed would be Ed Reed without Ray Lewis up the middle. It's kind of like how Tampa Bay designed Tampa 2 based off of that was John Lynch's, it's all driven to him. You don't go through the Baltimore's defense without going through Ray Lewis first. So with that, I understand how dominant Deion Sanders is, and I can be very, very biased with the Florida State stuff, but I don't know, man. And I guess it's because I watched so many Ray Lewis games. I gotta go with that. It might not be the best pick, but I gotta go. I'm going with my gut on this one.
I get you. Can we go next?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. So, I mean, this is a tough one. I mean, the one thing I give Dion, he was in the middle of that 90s 49ers Cowboys rivalry. He won consecutive Super Bowls, one for each. Like the Niners beat the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game and won the Super Bowl. And the next season, the Cowboys beat the Niners in the NFC Championship game and won the Super Bowl. Like in back-to-back years. And I mean, there was nothing like him. He was faster than everybody. He was flashier than everybody. I mean, at the end of the day, he had 22 total touchdowns. But I look at Ray Lewis. I mean, he's the only player with a career over 40 sacks and over 30 picks, 20 fumble recoveries, 50 total takeaways, which is second among linebackers since the merger. And he was Defensive Player of the Year and Super Bowl MVP in the same season, which never happens.
Forgot about that.
And so, like, you never see a defensive player win Super Bowl MVP, period.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that tips it for me. I got to give it to Ray Lewis.
All right, Bill, who you got?
This is tough. I mean, it's definitely tough. I mean, you're debatably arguing the best cornerback versus the best middle linebacker ever. They both have, questionable things outside the game.
Agreed.
Nobody really knows what happened in Ray Lewis's limo that night.
I know sometimes that's why I had to wear long sleeves. I just like the quote. That's it.
This to me, this is going to sound weird. I probably don't mean it the way it's going to come off, but I think Ray Lewis was more of a complete football player. Mm-hmm. The one thing I always hated about Dion is he just wouldn't tackle people.
He would leg tackles all the time. I 100% agree.
He even came out and said the one time
he'd
that
make a business decision.
Yeah.
Well, he said if somebody's faster than me, I just let him go. He came out and said that. But he said, you're not going to beat me in the red zone.
And there's the funny videos you could find of like where he's like literally just laying on the ground. I hope somebody trips over him. Yeah. Like
or pass interference people because he gets beat.
He tackles like a kicker.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Pass interference is better than a touchdown. Shut up.
Right. Dion was a character, but I'm gonna go Ray Lewis.
Oh, I did not expect you to say that. All right, Don.
Ray.
All right. Well, I like how you said that, Bill, about the complete football player, because that's how I would describe Ray Lewis. But the numbers just jumped out at me with Dion, with the interceptions, the touchdowns, the return yards, the Pro Bowls. The numbers just jumped a little higher than the complete football player. I think Dion ruled at his time, and that was my pick.
Wow. So that next round, Reggie White versus Ray Lewis, though, that's gonna be fun right there. All right, so let's go to LT and Rod Woodson. These are all like crazy.
It's brutal.
It's brutal, but it's kind of easy.
Yeah, this is easy for me. I mean, Lawrence Taylor.
It's just brutal to be like sorry.
It's. I feel like we're on a collision course with two people here, where this is going to end up. So, but yeah, Lawrence Taylor was just a freak. I don't know. He was a little bit crazy. I mean, all the stories where in between series he would go in the locker room and do a line and come back out and like rip somebody's head off.
Like John Jones. I was on cocaine when I was champion. Superhero.
Yeah, like the dude was a wild man. I don't know what else to say, but he was a hell of a football player. He absolutely, we said this with a couple of these other guys. He revolutionized that position.
Absolutely.
He was the first guy to play that position that way. And, God love Bill Parcells for recognizing it. It was like, this is what we're doing with this guy. And there's nobody in the league that's going to be able to stop him. And that's what they did. So, I mean, this is, again, I love Rod Woodson. He's incredible.
I love all these players, man. This was a fun one because I love them all for different reasons. But you got Lawrence Taylor.
This one's kind of easy for me. It's Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, this is probably the easiest one of the bracket just because of LT. And how dominant he was. So Don, I'd be surprised if you chose Rod Woodson, but we'll see. Man,
yeah, I'll tell you, I like Rod Woodson's numbers. I like his stats. I like him as a player. But, as much as Lawrence Taylor was a giant, you got to respect what he did in the position. 13 years, 10 Pro Bowls, 9-year All-Pro, 11 forced fumbles that he recovered. Yeah, he was dominant. Can't not vote for him.
The fear factor. Everybody was scared of him.
Yep.
I mean, and that to your point, Bill, like the stand-up pass rushing outside linebacker didn't exist before LT.
Nope.
And now that edge position is its own position. Like,
and it's so weird how the
people get drafted in it now. Like
exactly.
That's what they project people to be.
It didn't exist before LT.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, really think about it, guys. Like, LT literally combined outside linebacker and DN. It's almost like going from cornerback to safety. It's like you go from outside linebacker to DN late in your career. I mean, look at Khalil Mack. He's the prime example of that, but he's so talented too that it's ridiculous. But
sure.
Ronnie Lott and Mean Joe Green. Mean Joe Green was one of the number 1 seeds, or one of the top 4 seeds.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
man,
he was the cornerstone of the Steel Curtain defense. I mean,
he
4 Super Bowls, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. It was. It's tough.
I'm going Ronnie Lott.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Joe Green. I'm gonna go Mean Joe.
Okay.
The nickname sells it too. I like that.
I may have a commercial too.
Yeah, that one is a great commercial.
Yeah. I think as great as Joe Green was, and he was, I'm by no means taking anything away from him. He played with 4 or 5 other Hall of Famers. On that defense.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, by any means taints what he does, or, like you said, he was kind of the face of the Steel Curtain. But
didn't
his
he
job
play
was
with
easier playing with certain people?
Yeah, but then Mean Joe Green, I think I saw something where it was like on offense and defense, those teams, everybody that he played with was like 13 Hall of Famers or something like that. It was something ridiculous.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people consider that those Steelers teams like the best ever. Like it's like you said, you throw a football somewhere, you're going to hit a Hall of Famer on either side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It was insane. So I mean, I think Ronnie. I'm just going to go with Ronnie for that reason. That's really the only reason I have to argue against Joe Green.
Gotcha.
Okay, Don, who you got?
Hey, a couple stats that just jumped out on me with Joe Green: 181 games out of a possible 190 he played over 13 seasons, and in 13 seasons he had 16 fumble recoveries. I like them numbers, but no, Ronnie Lott.
Ronnie Lott.
Yep.
So I agree. This was probably the toughest one for me on this list because my bracket pretty much almost looked exactly the same as this up to this point. And I had to go between Joe Green because he was such a he was that Steelers defense, right? But then I had to factor in the 13 other Hall of Famers that he was on. Ronnie Lott was on good teams too, but he ain't played with 13 Hall of Famers.
Not like that.
And transcending the position, I mean, Joe Green, you could put up that he did that too, but we seen two, and like I said, that outside linebacker to DN position where we're talking about edge guys, I can't put him up there for that reason, but you can't mention safety without mentioning Ronnie Lott, and that kind of just shoved him into my vote right there. But
no, I can't disagree. I can't.
That was a tough one for me. All right, and then Reggie White versus Ray Lewis.
Reggie.
Yeah, it's Reggie for me.
I got Reggie. All right, that was an easy one.
And I think the next one's easy too. That's why I said a couple minutes ago. I feel like I know where this is ending up.
Yeah.
And everybody's got LT on this one, right?
It's LT for me.
All right.
So as much as I like Ronnie Lott better, I'd got to go with LT.
It's LT.
So this was almost
few weeks ago.
Our Mount Rushmore right here. Somebody had Reggie White and somebody either had Lawrence Taylor. But based off, I'll go first and get it out the way. Based off of my Mount Rushmore, the human being. I mean, if we're sitting here Hall of Fame voters and we had to choose one of these players to put in, I gotta go with the whole package. I mean, if we're doing that with Terrell Owens, we gotta do that with these two. So my vote is for Reggie White.
I will echo that. Obviously, again, a little bit near and dear to my heart because he's an Eagle. But again, if you're gonna take in the whole picture, who he was as a player, I think they're close as a player. Maybe you might give a slight edge to LT in that respect. Maybe you could argue it for days upon days. Don probably has numbers on both sides that would make an argument good. Off the field, it's not close. Reggie White was just, a better human being. So for me, it's Reggie White.
Don, who you got on this one?
You know, it's funny you mentioned the Mount Rushmore because the way LT revolutionized that position is why I had him on my Mount Rushmore. But when I'm putting the two next to each other for GOAT status, looking at my numbers, Reggie White.
Wow. Dude, I thought this was going to go the other way. Rob, who you got?
I got to make it a clean sweep. Like, Reggie is the greatest. I mean, LT struck, I think, more fear, but Reggie dominated the game like nobody else. Like, you watch the film and what he was capable of, you know, how many Hall of Famers did he make look ridiculous?
Yeah.
Like, he was so good. And the numbers show it, obviously. I mean,